this third block in the series where I am expressing some thoughts and from my experiences in the Certified Technical Architect program, which I am lucky enough to currently attend. Last week we did our presentation. If you want to hear more about what we did last week, see the prior video. What I would like to emphasize in this video here is something I didn't get to cover last time, and it is related to how we are actively presenting in the cohort for each other. So it is very much bring your own experiences and your own content to the table, which is back to the method of flipped classroom. So the much of the value is coming from you and your peers. So in this instance here, we had one representative that did a presentation for the rest of us, and then all of us, while this person was presenting, we're putting in all sorts of feedback on what to keep doing, what to maybe we would suggest they should consider doing something else about, something they should maybe stop doing. If they, for example, have, it's all from how you articulate what you're saying, how you gesticulate what you're saying, and also down to the content and the audio visuals you are using to accompany your presentation. It all matters. One of the key points from this has been that a brilliant idea is only as valuable as the presenter is able to efficiently communicate it to the correct level, and by level I mean to the different levels of audience, to understand where they're coming from and what they need to hear and how to best convey the message that you're carrying. Otherwise, it will just be another good idea you have in your drawer at home. This week here, we are looking at the configuration management database and common service data model. So things are starting to get a bit more tangible, though we are still in the common service data model area, which is notorious for being a bit intangible. It is the fluffy layer we put on top of our configuration management database to make it more service oriented, to have a common service definition. Some of the challenges I would say we have in this week is being able to efficiently articulate the value and the approach that we would suggest a customer is to take with the common service data model. Because the common service data model is a relatively new phenomena and it's not a product, it's not something that you can plug in, you can just install and then it works. It is something that actively requires your translation of your service organization into specific data tables in ServiceNow with specific relations. That makes it very difficult to kind of grasp at first hand, because you can't go to your customer and say, this is the cookie cutter, this is how it should work for you, because it's very dependent on the organization that the common service data model is to be introduced to. So, how to go about this? What we at least are attempting to do is to use analogies and to make it more familiar to the layman or the audience that almost for sure will not be very familiar with the common service data model. In fact, many are not really familiar with the common service data model. So how to best speak about it, to show what it is about. We have decided to do this with an analogy of a roadmap, also a common component to communicate about the common service data model. So you can imagine you have London, a big city. It comprises of many billions of things, from intersections to roads to different houses and tunnels and whatever cities such as London might contain. Now, if we were to create a map of London, what would we do? We could try to map everything, but that would be very costly. Instead, we might try to put on a specific set of glasses. Let's say that we are a citizen of London or someone visiting London, and we are interested in the public services that London has to offer. Specifically, we would be interested in public transportation. As such, we may want to have a map of London that is tailored to maybe the underground network or the bus network of London. So you can hop on a red bus. So now we are kind of highlighting the routes and the red lines on the map, knowing that this is where the public transportation is, and these specific points on the red line is where you can jump on. And we are also able to understand from a CMDB point of view what CI classes, what elements of this infrastructure supporting the bus network is more interesting than others. In this case, it might be intersections, so traffic lights. Let's say that you have 3 traffic lights on the route. These are critical components for the service continuity to be there. So imagine that there is an incident, all of a sudden there's a power outage as one of the traffic lights are no longer functioning. In this case, it will be considered an incident because the IT service, the bus service has been degraded. As such, it will be needful to make a change. For example, you could do a change to the route. So you do a workaround route for the service to continue the service operation, and then once the incident with the traffic light has been resolved, you can recommence the traditional route. Yeah, so one other thing, that was the analogy part, that kind of sets the stage for obviously then saying that the bus routes, we're not really talking about bus routes, we're talking about the different services of your organization. So it doesn't take a lot, it's not a large leap. I would suggest to go from imagining a bus route and the critical components of the infrastructure that supports it, to understanding how this could be your services, your underlying applications and CI stacks underneath this, as well as all of the technical services and service domains that this would comprise of. So, but still, the common service data model, it carries many dimensions because it is supposed to be the one model to rule them all in ServiceNow. It is to be the all-encompassing model that the different product suites of ServiceNow, for example, ITSM, CSM, SPM, and so on, would be able to refer without there being any sort of change in the model, the common model. So it needs to be very broad and also very multifaceted, and it is. You can find the diagram, search for CSDM 4.0 and see the latest diagram. There are 4 different dimensions to the CSDM and different components to each of the dimensions, such as the technical service offering, dynamic CI groups going into application services. And each of these here have very specific definitions and meanings and prescribed relationships to other entities in the common service data model. So just throwing all of this to a customer or into a workshop, it will be daunting for the audience to be able to capture and understand all of this. They will probably be a bit scared off, in fact, because it will be new theory for the most of the audience. And even if it is not, you can study CSDM for a while and still learn something more. So the way that we went about trying to convey the CSDM and how an implementation or adoption of its data modeling practices were to be achieved is through incremental changes following the maturity stages of the common service data model, going from the crawl stages, looking at the foundation. I'll get to test if I can remember it all. Sorry if I don't. Going to the walk stage, where you start to map out the application services and some CIs. Going to the walk stage, where you start to have some of the more technical services appended to it as well as a service catalog for technical services. Going into the run stage, where we are starting to build on the logical design domain with the business applications and a bit more. You need to look it up yourself. I don't pretend that I can recall all of this stuff, but I can understand it to some degree. But we go through the different maturation stages, and we use the customer's input to understand what it would mean to go through this zoomed in picture of the CSDM, looking at the foundation at the first step, use some of the customer's data to put it in here, so they get a sense of, okay, so that's what this is about, and this is the outcome that we're going to achieve from it, and these are the stakeholders that we should expect to involve in order to achieve this data structure and outcomes from it. Going to the a bit broader, where we then show all of the new elements that need to be addressed when we go into the walk stage, and so on. So make it incremental and easy for the workshop participants to understand would be my best advice on that account. Additionally, one thing that we are focusing on is to not reinvent the wheel. So ServiceNow already has a lot of wonderful content that you could be leveraging and utilizing for your workshop efficiency and success, staying aligned with leading practices built on the foundation of thousands of successful implementations of ServiceNow. So what you could do is that you could access sites such as Now Create that will have all sorts of workshop slides and different assets that you could utilize throughout your implementation journey, and as well as success packs that will give you a predefined path implementation plan for specific products such as ITSM, that suite. So it will give you all of the steps needed to be done by specific roles, and it will tell you what the input and the processing and output of each of the steps are, and you can even export it and import it directly into your own ServiceNow instance or in Excel for that matter. Additionally, we have the resource center, which is very good if you want to understand the value of different products, what they bring to the table, which is something we all need to be able to convey to our stakeholders in terms of change management, and just to build a business case at the first place before we can get to do any of the ServiceNow stuff that we like to do. We have the Customer Success Center, which also holds a lot of valuable information such as technical governance workbooks, different sorts of checklists and diagrams. There's all sorts of wonderful stuff in there. I highly recommend you visit it. And of course also to remember the ServiceNow community site, be it for questions on how to develop or implement something, or how to model something, for example, in the common service station model. There is something for everything inside of the community. So that is essentially it for this week. We are done with our presentation. I will not be the one presenting this time. I will be providing feedback. And I believe next week I will be the one presenting, if I'm not mistaken. So until then, have a good one and thank you for watching.